Universal Values, based on the book The Value of Values by Swami Dayananda Saraswati. What is a value? Value indicates the regard for a thing, situation, or attitude, which for some reason is esteemed or prized by the value holder. The appropriate values which prepare the mind for Vedanta are certain universal ethical attitudes. Swami Dayananda Saraswati. Saucam, inner and outer purity. Saucam is cleanliness in a twofold sense. Bahya Saucha, external cleanliness, and Antara Saucha, inner cleanliness. Bahya Saucha is well understood universal value. It is easy to see the benefit that comes to me and to others from external cleanliness. Clean body, clean clothes, and clean dwelling places make life more pleasant. In addition, the daily discipline of maintaining cleanliness brings about a certain attentiveness and alertness of mind. Antara Saucha is less well recognized. Antara Saucha means cleanliness of the Antahkaranya, mind. What is Asaucha, uncleanliness of the mind? What makes a mind unclean? Jealousy, anger, hatred, fear, selfishness, self-condemnation, guilt, pride, possessiveness, all these emotions and the climate of despair and resentment which come in their wake are the unclean qualities of the mind. Every day, while I go about my business, dust settles on my skin, dirt smudges my clothes, my desk becomes littered, and in my transactions with people and circumstances, my mind gathers daily asaucha. Linked to my likes and dislikes, ragas and dveshas, smudges of envy settle, a spot of exasperation lands, streaks of possessiveness appear, and overall, the fine dust of self-criticism, guilt, and self-condemnation spreads in my mind. Each day I wash my body, launder my clothes, and straighten my desk. It is a day-to-day affair until death. Until my body goes, I must do this. It is the same with the mind. Each day, until in the knowledge of the self, my false identification with the mind goes, my mind must be cleaned. When there is no daily cleaning outside or inside, the accumulation makes the task much more difficult. How can we clean the mind? What is the detergent for the mind? It is Pratipaksha bhavana. Prati, a Sanskrit prefix, means opposite. Pratipaksha stands for position or point of view. Bhavana indicates thinking or state of thought. Thus, Pratipaksha Bhavana means a state of mind with the opposite point of view. The practice of Pratipaksha Bhavana is to take, deliberately, the opposite point of view by an act of will, to think the opposite of the unclean thoughts. I undertake this opposite thinking and act accordingly, even though I feel that my attitude is justified. Someone may do an improper action that insults or injures me. Resentment settles in my mind. The action may have been inarguably improper, but the resentment nonetheless is mine. It is ashaucha of my mind. If I allow it to remain, the resentment can build up into hatred, a painful, disturbing mental state. When I see, therefore, the personal consequence of allowing ashaucha to remain, when the object of resentment comes to my attention, I deliberately use my will to think of thoughts opposite to the negative ones that first come to mind. Banish resentment by seeing the saint. Manifest or not, everyone has the qualities of compassion, mercy, love, not hurting, and so on, that makes one a saint. Therefore, to cleanse the mind of resentment and dislikes that solidify into hatred, I deliberately search for those things in another person that indicate his humaneness, his saintliness. They are there in everyone. When you focus only on the glimpses of saintliness in another person, all the other traits you have observed in him are attributed merely to error, mistake, habit, wrong thinking, wrong environment, and wrong upbringing. You take it as your blessing that you are not in the same position that he is in. You see behind the acts the person possessed of all the saintly qualities, because innately these qualities are the human qualities. Saintly qualities are the qualities of the self, the qualities that really constitute human nature. The opposite qualities are incidental. They come and go. When resentment, dislike, hatred towards someone arises, introduce thoughts that are their opposite. See the person behind the action from an opposite viewpoint, and you will discover in yourself some sympathy or understanding for that person. Your attitude will be one of kshanti, accommodation towards him or her. In this manner, by deliberate, consistent practice, any resentment, any hatred that appears is erased, cleansed on a daily basis. The ashaucha of selfishness. Selfishness provides a good example of ashaucha that yields to Pratipaksha Bhavana. In the case of selfishness, the Pratipaksha Bhavana thoughts often can be reinforced by action as well. When I see myself inconsiderate to the wants, needs, happiness of others, I can consciously program myself to overdo in the opposite direction. Making myself alert to the needs and happiness of those around me, I can find ways to be considerate. Whenever I can do something that will compensate some selfish omission or commission on my part, I do so. It not only settles and frees my mind from that account, but also underlines, by deliberate action, the attitude of unselfishness that I wish to develop. When a decision to change an attitude is well expressed physically, that is, confirmed by action, it is hard for the negative opposite attitude to register in the mind again. The Ashaucha of self-condemnation. Universal ethical values, consciously or unconsciously, remain as a matrix of self-judgment of any thought or action that transgress their standards. Whenever I fail to abide by a general value, some conflict usually registers in my mind. Conflict becomes guilt, and guilt turns into an underground chorus of self-condemnation, ashaucha, subtly pervading my mind. Self-condemnation can be controlled by Pratipaksha Bhavana, by refusing to condemn myself while at the same time deliberately thinking non-self-condemning thoughts. Analysis of the nature of self-condemnation will help me exercise Pratipaksha Bhavana. On analysis, I will always find that in this body-mind package, which I term I, the body that carries out the act cannot be condemned. The hands, the legs, the feet, the tongue, and all the other parts of the body are inert. The body itself lacks self-consciousness or independent will. Similarly, the senses and the various functions of the body are not independent, conscious processes. Neither can the mind be labeled the culprit. The mind is not a simple definable entity, but is an ever-changing aggregate of thoughts and motion, some beautiful, some not beautiful, and some useful and some inconsequential. The mind is only a process that performs as a useful instrument. It cannot be condemned. Then what can be condemned? Can Atman, the name for first person singular I, be condemned? From the scripture, Shruti, I know that Atman illumines the mind. Atman is Satchit Ananda, boundless, timeless, awareness, fullness, form-free, and action-free. Being neither the doer nor the enjoyer, the Atman cannot be blamed. Therefore, what can I condemn? I can condemn just a given thought. Neither my body, nor my mind, nor my Atman. If there is anything that justifiably can be condemned, it is but a given thought, born of ignorance and error. A thought that ordered an improper action. When I recognize the basis of an action, be it desire or anger, it makes my mind alert. Alertness helps to break the conditioning, thereby making the mind receptive to the knowledge that dispels ignorance. The Saucam of jealousy. Jealousy is a reaction of sorrow over a lack, which I conclude exists when I compare myself with some other human being who is seen as superior. This supposed superiority, if it exists at all, when examined would always be found as partial, incomplete. Upon close examination, the one who is jealous would never be able to consider the aggregation of parts and functions that constitute the entity, the object of jealousy, totally superior. If I am jealous, I will never be jealous of all the aspects of another person, nor will anyone who is jealous of me find me totally superior. When analyzed, it becomes very clear that jealousy is unfounded and unjustified. At the most elementary level of analysis, I can see that there is no absolute ranking of entities as subject to jealousy or causing jealousy. I am jealous of some, others are jealous of me. I can also see that there is no one who is an object of absolute jealousy. Pratipaksha bhavana, a daily action. Jealousy, resentment, selfishness and self-condemnation are only few of the attitudes that can be handled by Pratipaksha bhavana. Any attitude that is opposed to equanimity, accommodation, not hurting, absence of pride, and similar values can be neutralized by choosing to entertain the opposite point of view. This should be done daily. Pratipaksha bhavana at first may seem false, but as they are deliberately done every day, they will become real and spontaneous. A mind kept clean in this manner will be a quiet and alert mind. Such a mind is comfortable with itself, is ready to learn and to be taught.